Hello, welcome back. So we will continue from our previous videos. We just completed the part one, and now, according to our agenda, we will looking at the TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics, right? So, like I showed you guys last time, if you go online, then you can easily download the publicly available TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics. If you guys are not really sure about, then you can go to your browser and then start typing TOEFL IBT TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics, right? TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics, and then you can click this, and so this is what you need to download. So in our in our yesterday's in the video yesterday, I showed you guys a similar, right, rubrics for our writing, but this is for the speaking. Okay, this is for the speaking, and there's a different rubrics for the independent part, and there's a different rubrics for your speaking part. And if you download these and read through it, then you will have a very clear idea of how do they actually go about measuring. Okay, measuring your speaking test. So, but please notice this one thing here. So yesterday, when we looked at the writing, the scoring system of your, writing was from 0 to 5, but for your speaking, it is from 0 to 4. So that's the only difference. And when we talk about the speaking, they try to measure your speaking based on these three dimension, which is topic development, language use, and delivery. Yeah, topic development, language use, and delivery. So I won't be spending much time here because this is something that you can easily download. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll present to you um, the summarized version of that. Okay, so when we talk about the TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics, they try to measure your ability to speak, and then they measure your speech in this three dimension, which is the delivery of your speech, the second one is the language usage of your speech, and the third one is the topic development. Now some of the things here are already, whatever we talked about, in the writing section. So for example, when you talk about the language use, this is exactly how we discuss. Okay, the components that we discuss in writing also features here. So when you talk about the grammar, and when we talk about the vocabulary, the components, the language components that you know that are measured are same as the language component that was measured in our writing. But the only thing different here is that when they talk about writing, grammar and words are they're very strict. But when we are talking about speaking, it isn't that strict. Okay, yeah. So they don't expect you to, for example, when you're speaking, sometimes we don't even use sentences. We can use phrases instead and clauses and all, right? So instead of but when we are writing, you need to be very strict, and you need to create fully qualifying sentences and all. So yeah, but apart from that how lax and how strict, in case of writing, it's more stricter than in the case of speaking. But we are talking about the same language components when we talk about grammar and vocabulary, which makes up the dimension of language use, right? And topic development is also something that we looked at in writing. Whatever we looked at also features here. Now, when we looked at our writing, um, especially the task two, which was your independent writing, we had a separate we had a separate dimension called topic development, right? And then we also had a separate topic called the uh, organization, right? But in our case, in the case of speaking, in this case, both organization and topic development are put together in one particular metric, right? So, topic development is all about how fully do you answer your idea, right? How fully do you answer, not idea, sorry, how fully do you answer the question given, right? So if the question asks you to give your experience, then you have to give your experience. Give examples, then you have to give examples, right? So then how fully do you answer? Or when you're answering, are you developing the answer in are you going, in depth or not? So these are some of the things that uh, they may look at. The next thing is how clearly you expresses your idea. So how clearly means now in terms of if you go back to the writing, we talked about something called coherence. And in the case of writing, we said like, you know, everything, when you're writing, to improve the coherence part, you have to improve their cohesion. So which means relationships, relationship between sentence and all the bond that you create between words and sentences can result in creating logical sequence, and then that logical sequence then improves uh, the clarity with which you express your right, right? And and later I'll also be talking about the language components, right? And the last one is how you connect your ideas. So this is all about cohesion part. How are you connecting one idea to another, right? And how fluidly are you doing it, right? So all this three dimension, which used to be under the content and also the organization part in your writing, is put under the same, rubric or dimension of rubric in your speaking. And this is done to make way for this new group of rubric, which is specifically used when we talk about the speaking. So delivery is, how you deliver your speech. So whenever you're speaking, how are you doing it, right? So since we are talking about proficiency of speaking English here, then delivery talks about how clear and fluid your speech is. So fluid in the sense we can say fluency, right? So how clear are you and how fluent are you is what they checked. The next one is your pronunciation. Are you pronouncing the word accurately or not? Okay, something that they check. And the third thing is when you are speaking, do you speak with a natural pace or not? If you're speaking very fast, then it might be very difficult for others to follow, right? So it's very important that you speak with a very normal pace, right? The pace with which you speak. But in real life, if you speak very fast, I would recommend you to slow it down when you are speaking for the TOEFL IBT speaking test. Okay, because if you use a natural pace, and if your natural pace is faster, then it will hamper the clarity and also the the connection of your idea part, because people will find it very difficult to understand. Okay, and the last part of your delivery is the intonation. Intonation is the rise and fall in your voice, right? So when you're speaking, how are you dealing with those? Intonation basically is the reason why we have these different accents and all, right? So when we speak, how are you differentiating the highs and the lows and the longs and the shorts, right? So which is all about rhythm, okay, melody and stress, which I'll be talking about in a bit. Okay, so TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics is divided into these three. Whenever when you sit for the TOEFL IBT speaking, now you know that you have to complete four tasks, right? So when you're completing each task, you're given some time to prepare, and then you have to speak onto the computer. So when you speak onto the computer, that voice sample is recorded and it's taken to the ETS. Now, once it gets to the ETS, the examiner, right, or in this case, they say for the TOEFL IBT, the speech sample is sent to both human and computer AI, right? So then they will use this three different rubrics, dimensions of rubrics, and the specific, uh, criteria within each rubric dimension to check how well you have scored, based on those rubrics. So this is how it's done, okay? And then they'll give you a score from 0 to 4. So let's say, if we score 2, right? What does it mean? Now you know that speaking is score out of 30, right? But by using the rubric, your score between 0 to 4. So this score of 0 to 4 needs to be converted from 0 to 30. So if you score 2, then 2 divided by 4 into 30. So that's how they calculate. Okay, so that's 2 2 2 15 and 2 2. So you're scoring 15 out of 30. So if we score 2, then you score 15 out of 30. Yeah, so that's the TOEFL IBT speaking rubrics. So let me move on now and try to now give you some insights into the language components that you can focus on, to improve your English speaking, within those rubrics, right? So when you talk about the delivery, how can you improve your clarity and your fluency? To improve your fluency and your clarity, you need to concentrate on phonology. Now, phonology is the study of sounds in English, right? So when you are speaking, since you're producing sound, right? And letters and sounds in English are totally different. Okay. So you need to have understanding of phonology and how, you know, how words and letters and all sound in English so that you can improve your pronunciation. Yeah. Once you understand phonology and once you can easily use the correct sounds in English, right, it becomes easier for you to or it becomes easier for other people's, for example, the native speakers to understand your speech, right? So which is very important for communication, right? So I will be going to phonology and giving you a very general overview of it, and also some few directions on where to go and how to study phonology. Okay, but I won't be covering everything here. And also, to be very clear and to improve your fluency, you need to concentrate on collocation. Now, collocation, from the uh, video on writing, you guys know that it is a combinations of word. So, like I said, right? Usually, when I teach collocations to importance of collocation, I mean, right? Importance of collocation to students, I usually give them this particular example. Even native speakers, the minute they start thinking about the words when they speak, the fluency, goes right out of the window. Okay, have you seen those native speakers who come on national television and they start speaking, right? And then they use the word uh every 2 to 3 words, right? Now, these people are native speaker of the language, but still then when they go on national television, why do you think that is, right? That is because when they are on national television, they have to be very careful of the words that they choose, right, when they speak, because they don't want to use the wrong words and hurt somebody's sentiment. So, see, so that means that now they are thinking about words when they're speaking. So, every time somebody thinks about word when they're speaking, the fluency, directly goes out of the window, right? So, how are you supposed to improve your fluency? By improving your collocation. Okay, if you can improve your collocation, if you have a combinations of word, if you have a set pattern for combinations of word that you use in different situations, and if it's already there, then it becomes very easy for you to maintain the fluency. Okay, because every time before speaking, if you're thinking about the words, then you're not fluent. Usually what happens with students is they begin speaking, they begin speaking, and then at some point what they do is now they don't know what word to use, right? And they're thinking about the words, then the thing that comes on their mouth is ooh, right? So this is how it happens. So fluency can be improved by concentrating on collocations, okay, combinations of words. Because if the combinations of word are there, means it just comes out of your mouth. You don't even think, okay. And the last one is the connected speech. We don't speak English word by word, do we? Right? Wrong? When native speakers speak English, they connect between the words, right? They speak as if each and every word are connected, right? So that's the concept of connected speech. So whenever you speak English, you need to improve your fluency, right? You need to connect the speech, connect words, right? So that it blends with each other, right? So to improve your clarity and the fluency, you can concentrate on phonology, collocations, and like speech. Okay, and if you want to watch videos, there are a lot of videos on those three aspects, on those three, okay, that you can watch from YouTube. Now the second one is the good pronunciation. Now, when they talk about the pronunciation, yes, then you have to know the individual sounds. That's why you need to study phonology. The other thing that you need to study for word pronunciation is something called syllable stress. Whenever I talk about syllable stressing, I talk about, I give this particular example to students. Can they pronounce this word? And I ask students if they can pronounce this word. And then students, what they do is they say robot, right? Robot, robot. So that's how they pronounce. But did you know that, this word is pronounced as ro? It's robot, right? The pronunciation for this word is robot. You have to stress the bot. Because whenever you are dealing with, there's some rules, okay, which are which determines the syllable stressing. Now, what are syllables? Syllables are the chunk, right? It's a small part of your word. Words can be divided into smaller syllables. Yes or no? And if you want to find out how many syllables does a particular word have, you can do it like that. Just put your hand below your chin and try to say the word. Row, bat, row, bat, row, bat. So your chin touch your hands 2 times, right? So which means that that particular word has 2 syllables. Get it? Yeah. And in English, different syllable gets different stressing. Whenever you're pronouncing a word, different syllable gets different stressing. So in this case, it's not robot. You know, it's not robot. The stressing needs to be given to the second part. So it's robot, right? Robot. So I saw a robot. I saw a robot. I saw a robot. I saw a robot. Right? Can you see the difference? So yeah, so that's why the syllable stressing is the most important part, okay, to improve your pronunciation. And within the delivery, the third is the natural pace. So if you want to have a very natural pace, and basically it also comes within the fluency part, right? So then you have to concentrate on something called word stress. You know what collocation is, and in a bit I'll be also explaining about the intonation. Now let's first talk about word stress. We already discussed here that in English different syllable gets different stress. In English, it is also true that a word, different word in a particular, in a given sentence also gets a different stressing. So I am happy. Let's say we take this example sentence. Now, when you speak or say this particular sentence, you have the option of either stressing here in this word, or this word. So you can either stress happy, am, or happy. Oh, sorry, I or am or happy. If you are stressing on, if you're stressing on happy, and please notice that depending on which word you stress on, the meaning of the sentence changes. I am happy, right? So I am happy. So when you stress that, it means that you're not sad, you're not indifferent, you're very happy. But you can also choose to stress am. So you say, I am happy. I am happy. So in that case, yes, you're stressing the am, so I am happy. Maybe somebody thinks that you're not happy. So you're telling them, I am happy. I am happy. Right? So you stress am. Or you could stress I also. I am happy. So then see, it means I am happy. It's not somebody who is happy. So can you see how the meaning of the sentence change based on which word you stress in a given sentence, right? So this is also very important when we talk about the natural pacing. So when we have to go up down, right? So when you have to maintain that natural pace, because see, I am happy, right? What I did here is I just jogged through I stressed am, so I spend more time here, and then I again jog through happy when I'm stressing, right? Can you see it? So this changes the pace, of your speech, and which in terms then improves your intonation. Now, what do you mean by intonation, right? So intonation stress. Intonation is nothing but a combination of a rhythm, melody, and stress. So if I talk about rhythm, rhythm is basically how many words do you speak within those four beats, like tuck, 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 right? So you might know that rappers and all, they use a lot of words within those four beats, three, four, right? Yes or no? So this is very important. And melody is like we mentioned in stress, right? Which word you choose to go up, and which words do you choose to go down in a given sentence? That is called as melody. So melody is nothing but if you don't say the word, then it's just going up and down. So you're saying something like ta 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 da 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 ta da 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 ta da 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 da. da 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 da. So if you remove the word, this is how it sounds, and this is nothing but melody. So rhythm is within those 4 beats. How many words do you I mean do you really use, right? And how fast it basically talks about how fast or slow you speak, rhythm. But melody is about what word you choose to go up and what words you choose to come down. Okay, so that's melody. And stressing is basically when you're stressing something, you go higher in pitch and then you stay there for a longer period of time. So when I was saying this thing, I am happy, right? I am, right? So I'm going higher in pitch and staying there for a long period of time. And that is what it means by stressing. And these 3 forms, what we call as intonation. And intonation is the reason why we have different accents, right? The famous Indian accent is also an example of that, right? So Indian accent has their own rhythm, they have their melody and stressing. So in fact, the stressing in language like Hindi is called as syllable stressing. It's not word stressing, it's syllable stressing. So which means each and every syllable gets the same stressing. Aap kahan ja rahe ho, right? So this is something that you need to know. Okay? And the fourth is the good intention, and that is good intonation, and that is nothing but the intonation, right? So that explains, the delivery part of your speaking. The language use is the grammar and vocabulary. And when we talk about the grammar, we're talking about how many different sentence structures can you create. Now, yesterday I told you guys that in English there are some few basic sentence structures like simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and all, right? So, so you know, um, when you're speaking, if you're just keeping on using the same sentence structure like simple sentences like hello, I'm Sereng, I'm from Trongsa, then it becomes boring, isn't it? So in grammar, what they are basically checking is how many different sentence structures can you create when you're speaking. Okay, that's there. And when we talk about the vocabulary part, we're talking about these different things now. Collocation, if we can use any subject specific words, like for example, if you're talking about economics and you're talking about inflation, right? You're using the word inflation. It's a subject specific words and it will improve your mark. And synonym and paraphrasing is for you guys not to repeat the same word again and again. When you're speaking, if you keep on using the same word again and again, you say like, in my last vacation, I went to penciling during my vacation in penciling. If you keep on repeating that word vacation, vacation again and again, then it tells the examiner that your diversity of word or your ability to use synonym is quite limited. Okay, so that's the reason why we need to use synonym and paraphrasing to keep on changing, so that the words are not repeated, repeated, repeated. Okay, yeah, makes sense. So that's the language use, and the last one is the topic development. Okay, which is something to do with the content. Hopefully, you answer your question. So now in TOEFL IBT speaking, they'll give you some questions, right? How fully do you answer those questions? So it's to do with content. If we're talking about integrated, since you have to use the information given on the lecture or from the reading, then they also check the accuracy of it, right? And how are you using those information to answer the given question? And the second one is how clearly you express your idea. How clearly. So when we are speaking, all we do is we create one point after another, right? We just sequence those points, and if you create a relationship between those ideas, then you can be very clear. And how you connect your ideas, which is nothing but the same thing that we talked about, the language components, determiners, conjunctive adverbs, and signpost languages. So you guys, if you guys go and go to the internet and find these different language components, right? And if you research more on this and try to look at how can you use this in your TOEFL IBT test, then it should really improve your speaking very objectively, okay, based on the criteria which they use to assess your speech when you sit for your TOEFL IBT. Yeah, so all these things becomes very important. So you guys need to go and check phonology, collocations, connected speech, syllable stressing, word stressing, right? Intonation, sentence structure, yeah, all this. Okay. Um, what I'll do is I'll also give you, some links to some YouTube videos who explain this very well. Okay. All right, so we will end the second video here, which basically explained about the rubrics and the language components that you can focus to improve your speaking. Please watch the last video. Thank you.